Thank you very much. Thank you, Leo. So happy to introduce this first session on future-proofing your business with the cloud provider scalability and technical infrastructure. I'm Arnaud Muller. I'm the co-founder of Cleyrop, and we are developing at Cleyrop the first European data hub for regulated players, especially players like French Army, who runs workloads on data and analytics on sensitive data. So we are a startup of more than 2 years old now, 50 people, and just raised 10 million to accelerate R&D and the go-to-market. Think we'll so during this session we'll check how we can scale business traction using cloud and leveraging our partner here, Scaleway with Liam, and Fanny, who is joining us, acting as marketing manager for OVHcloud, startup program manager, exactly. And we'll have also illustration coming from the ground with concrete example of how we can scale business coming from the startup entrepreneur voice. So Karel, and we'll have also Alex from Altoviz. So Karel from Voxist. You may heard about Voxist, but we'll come back to you and introduce what Voxist does. But we will see how we boost the business. Yeah, I think we can, huh? Yeah. Let's have a chat. Maybe so. Karel, if you want to introduce the mission of Voxist and specifically your role and contribution in the company.
Thank you. So I'm the founder of Voxist, and CEO as a title, but pretty much do anything needs to be done in a startup. And we do speech AI, so our vision is to transform speech into actionable data, extracting the knowledge that's within speech. So we do speech recognition, natural language understanding, and speech language understanding.
Thank you. Liam?
Yeah, you bet. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I said I would turn it on before I started talking. How's it going? Oh, what perfect timing. Why don't you guys slide into this panel while I introduce myself? My name's Liam. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Scaleway. Scaleway's one of a few European cloud players. I'm in charge of everything from how do we make money today to how do we make money tomorrow. I spend a lot of time with our customers, the vast majority of which would identify as European startups. Yeah, also work on cool stuff like artificial intelligence and some other fun topics as well.
Yeah, so Fanny, yes, please.
I'm Fanny Bouton, I'm startup programmer at OVHcloud, and I help startups to make Perfect, thank you, Liam. I'm startup programmer at OVHcloud, and I help startups to do money with a good infrastructure and to have all the long journey with 1 year with us to choose the good infrastructure and to have a better communication, better sales. It's every day an exchange with a startup.
Thank you, Fanny. Maybe Alex? Yes?
Hello, everyone. I'm Alex. I'm the co-founder of Altoviz, small business software company making SaaS software for entrepreneurs. And so I also spent most of my life creating software and doing stuff in the cloud. So that's maybe the reason why I'm here.
Exactly. Thank you. So to start, so you said, Fanny, that you are supporting entrepreneurs in their cloud journey, making the right choice at the right time, and you are a startup program manager. Maybe you can start by explaining what kind of help. It's not only credits, but it's much more than that that you can provide to support.
Yeah, it's credits, obviously. It's to have a credits infrastructure to start on the cloud. It's up to 100K for 12 months. But it's also up to 20 hours with an architect to do a workshop, to discover what is the difference with our competitors, what is the best choice to optimize the consumption of the cloud, and to be really efficient about the price, but also about the infrastructure. And after, we have time for communication, for events like this. Today, it will be also with our startup on the booth and on stage, and to have a visibility to help them to understand. We have also a mentoring program every year for 30 startups to upgrade about HR, about communication or sales. The startup choice, where are they the worst inefficiency, and they want to upgrade. Because sometimes a startup, a CEO come from management school or engineer school, and they have skills, but not all the skills to be a CEO when they scale. And it's really important to help them to have other soft skill or other skills to grow and to have all to be a good manager and to do their job.
Okay, so it's not only technical, it's also related to management and scaling your talents and go to market.
Yeah, also talk to the media. I think 20% of the startup don't start too late the communication of the marketing, and they died because they don't do that, and it's really important. Generally, they are focused on the products or about raising, and it can be really dangerous because if you don't start your communication, and it's where they have this lack of knowledge, and help them to have all that it's good for to do a really big startup scale and maybe to be a unicorn.
Thank you. Yam, can you explain how Scaleway support entrepreneurs with this kind of program? And
yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of what Fanny said is true. Obviously, from the get-go, a startup program across any company, including cloud providers, involves getting access to a better version of the product than you can afford. So for cloud providers, that translates into credits, some amount of credits over some duration of time, typically a year. We experimented last year with a different program that was a 2-year program, and it actually just cut your bill by 80%, then 70%, then 50, 40, 30 down the time. So we try to play around with providing different offers to different companies depending on where they're at. But broadly speaking, as Fanny said, getting access to technical, customer-facing technical profiles, overall just providing the level of customer experience that we provide to our biggest spending customers to early-stage startups. And the bet is very clear. We believe that, if we invest in, time, energy, money into 10, 100, 200, 1,000, then 10% of those companies will go on, and that's borne out to be true, to be our, in our top 20 customers 3 years later. So the bet is very clear. We want to bring companies in early. We want to help them grow. And so increasingly over the past year, what we've seen is a lot of our customers, struggle with business best practices, making the most out of the public cloud. Europe is way less mature on the public cloud than the US. US public cloud adoption is north of 90%. In Europe, it's less than 50%. France is not one of the leading countries on that front, in part due to a very, very healthy private cloud and bare metal industry. And so as a result, there's definitely help getting people familiar with the public cloud. Just basic things like start on Kubernetes from day one. It's a pretty good decision. Maybe there are downsides of Kubernetes, but it's probably a great way to go. I don't even know what your business is. You probably won't regret it. It's the like managed Kubernetes experience is pretty helpful for deploying at scale. But beyond that, we spend a lot more time helping our customers make money. And so, as an example, this summer we organized a cocktail between AI startups and I would say like our biggest customers who are talking to us about artificial intelligence projects. And so obviously the goal was to have, we had the ministre de l'armée, so talk with them about what they're doing, and but also putting them in touch with our customers who happen to be, among other things, AI startups that sell into the public sector. Okay, so increasingly we're working on augmenting the sales force of our customers as a way of supporting their growth. And so basically we have our sales team, and then within our sales team, the idea is to build a mini sales team whose job is basically just to be account executives for our best customers, especially the best customers that can sell back to our customers, so developer tools and technical products. And so what we see is, there's really this effort to help startups, certainly technically, certainly best practices for sure, meetups with investors and helping to take the network that a cloud provider has access to, which is the entire ecosystem, and help them get in touch with those people and learn from them. But also post 2021, we see a big ask of help me make money. I really would like to raise my next round, and I can only do that if my revenue is growing. And we would love for our customers to keep existing. That's usually good. And so, we try to help them make more money.
Alex, so what, at the beginning of your cloud journey, what was the main driver of your cloud adoption, and what drove the choice of the cloud? Was it related to the business network, the ecosystem, a technical reason?
So you mean going through a cloud program like the one of OVH or?
Not only program, just what
just
drove the choice
to go to the cloud instead of
exactly.
something else?
Yeah.
Well, in fact, to be honest, I spent the last 13 years in the cloud. So I mean that I used to be in the cloud. So I spent 12 years helping partners going to the cloud. So I think I'm pretty comfortable with the idea that it might help at some point your business to go in the cloud right from the start. It's something I think you have to embrace and really push in your company. I mean, you have to be full in and not just testing things and doing a little bit of stuff and other things. You have to really invest in it and be really focused in this thing to make it work, because it's really a different mindset. So I see a lot of people just trying to go to a cloud provider, but looking for a solution like you can have in any hoster or old-fashioned hoster. And so it's probably not the right mix. And that's probably the point that we are underlined before. And so going through, maybe I'm not 100% aligned with the idea of that everybody should go to Kubernetes, but going to the public cloud offers usually and finding the right way for your company, meaning that you have to have the competency, the knowledge, to go through a specific path. So if you're not comfortable with the Kubernetes approach, find something else. The good way is not the same for everybody. So you have to find your own way. But going to the cloud overall might be a good decision for you. So, I mean, think about the cloud first, and then find some fallback if the cloud doesn't fit your needs, more than going to the cloud because it's the second choice citizen.
And I think you did great when it comes to test and learn and the different options. Like you have this cloud background. I think today you are running several clouds, and you're
Yes,
solution
okay.
and leverage.
That's a specific point. So at Altoviz, we decided to to use some hybrid approach. So meaning that we are not full in with one provider, but have two providers. And you probably have 3 good reasons to decide to go this way. It might be some customer request or requirement saying, well, I may be your customer, but you have to be in this particular cloud. So for a SaaS provider, it may be a good reason for that. The second one might be the fact that it gives you a really nice position on the market, a competitive advantage. For example, being in France, in a French cloud provider might be a huge advantage if you are dealing with the public sector, for example, but also with more and more customers who are looking for some sovereignty or meaning getting the idea that having a full stack of service being in France might be great for us. So you're not obliged to wait for the customer demands, but you can probably go ahead of that and position yourself as a French leader. And the third reason might be another kind of competitive advantage, meaning that some cloud providers have some services that others do not provide. And so you might pick up some services from one provider or one from another and find your best stack. In the end, the important thing is not really only the provider, but your solution, your product. What do you want to do, and if the provider is serving your objective the right way or not.
Thank you. So when it comes to scale, also you can. We discussed yesterday, and we prepared this roundtable. You shared some previous experience, and so maybe Karel, you can tell us what drove the cloud choice, and when it comes to scalability, elasticity, what are the main, I would say, driver and challenges you are facing?
Sure, I think anyway, what Alex mentioned is really true, and to give you a little feedback on my experience. So I started my career in the telecom industry and on IT operation, exploitation as we call it in the old time. And so I launched mobile operators in Germany, fixed operator in France, and the telecom operations, it's mostly bare metal. It's huge teams, hundreds of people. So I've experienced all that from my early years. And then later on, I worked more in the product side of things. And one experience I had was we launched a mobile application which grew quite fast and was working quite well. So we were 10 of thousand, 100 of thousand users, and then suddenly there is one spike. We have 100 of thousand per day that had to, and we grow to millions of users. Well, actually we didn't, because for 2 weeks we were done. Because our infrastructure wasn't scalable. We had to add machines, we had to add people, we had to add to change the way the software architecture is done, because we will find bottlenecks one after the others. And so when I built Voxist, I started, it was myself and 2 interns. So suddenly I had to think about how do I do things that I used to do with hundreds of people behind me when I have only like 2 great interns. They are still with me and been working with the company for a long term now. So we started by using actually not Kubernetes at that point. We were one of the first startups, I think, in France using serverless. And so I won't tell the name, but in that time there was only one provider who could do serverless.
Yeah, AWS, yes.
It was AWS. Yeah.
Definitely.
Sorry?
They invented it.
They invented it. Yeah, exactly. So the choice was pretty much done for us. Is either that or I need more people. I needed other skill set. And I wanted something that could scale because I was hoping, we will get hundreds of thousands of users.
You mind if I say something?
No, go ahead.
Because we were talking about it yesterday. I think one of the interesting things, so I made a joke about Kubernetes. I still think it's true, but that's only because of the vast majority of business configurations. I think when we like a lot of what we see in terms of how people set up their technical infrastructure, the biggest issues people run into is in the approach that they take on their infrastructure does not mirror well to their business. So what Karel's talking about is having a product with a distribution capacity that's infinite, a mobile app on an app store, has the ability to scale up very rapidly, but running on bare metal, which is really designed more for resource optimization. And so what we see in like what we might call cloud maturity is if I take the lower, but it's only because technically you're deeper into the product. Like if you start down at the private cloud or even at bare metal, a lot of what people are doing is a bit of arbitrage or even making a bet. They're saying, I can find the right machine and I can get more value out of it in the way I expose it to customers than what I'm paying for it. So a really good example is a VPN. If you've ever paid for a VPN, there's a good chance that they're just buying a few bare metal machines from different providers all around the world. And so if you look at where you can spin up NordVPN or something else, just open up a map of AZs of major cloud providers, and you're gonna see all the DCs. And that makes sense because they can actually have thousands of users, or okay, let's say 1 to hundreds of users coming into a single bare metal machine. So the same customer paying for the same VPN, and they're saying we want to just optimize the architecture. That's actually where their business makes margin. Their ability to have less machines than people are paying for it. It's like I buy one machine for $100 a month, 15 customers come on it for €9 a month. I've just made $50. That's roughly that layer of business. But when you get up into a infinite distribution scenario, things like serverless, which are a layer of abstraction way higher, it's just saying I want to pay per consumption. That's all serverless means. It means pay as you go. If I execute a function or if I want to do something, I pay as I want. Well, if you're running a business whose unit economics relies on actions from your user, like a mobile, like a messaging app or some sort of delivery mechanism, well, it makes more sense because you can say, I know the unit cost of each action that my customer is going to take, B2C or B2B, and so I want to line up with that. And so the closer your technical architecture lines up with your actual product, the more in sync you get and the more business scalable you get. There's a technical scalability issue, and we can talk about
and there's elasticity in that because my workload is weekly. So you can see when the week starts and when we can't. And actually now if you look at the day, you can see when the day starts and when the day ends. So that means that at night and during the weekends, I have like maybe 10 to 20% of the load that I have during the day. So I also need something that's very elastic. And the pricing model of serverless is aligned with the pricing, the revenue models. But that's where I started. But today I have a bigger team, different type of customer, and we now are using more and more Kubernetes. And so actually I have Kubernetes that are running on Scaleway, but I have AI models that are running on OVH. And why is that? It's, as Alex is mentioning, it's depending of also our customer base. So now I have customers who are very careful with where the data goes. And so we are taking, what's the best solution for us, and it might be in different provider. And you mentioned clients also, so I even have things that are running on Azure. And why? Well, it's for the same reason, but the customer is an American company, so they want to be on a US company cloud in the US, on the private cloud, because it's very sensitive data that they are running, and I have barely access to that. So yeah, it's exactly what you were saying. Is it's elasticity, scalability, but it's also business requirements.
And I think it's really important to use this startup program at the good time and not just at the beginning, because there is two parts in the startup is in danger financially. It's when you start and we try to raise money, but you are focused on your product, or when you're scaling. And sometimes you can use this program one time in your life. and it's to choose a good time to use this credit to optimize and select what is the good infrastructure. Doing test and learn, it's really important, because sometimes you are focused by just the amount of the credit, but if you don't have the good support, and if you don't have the time to try what is the best for your company, and we can see, I think, I saw 3,000 startups in 7 years in this program. It's really different for each startup. It's to have this time of workshops with architects to understand what is the difference, because this is sometimes same product, but you can use it differently with each providers. And you can't, I don't know if we can say that in English, but to have the eggs in the same basket, it can be really dangerous. And it's really important to try and to see what is the best arrangement with the different cloud provider. Actually, to be just in one, and normally I'm in sales team, I don't say that, but for the good of the startup and for they can be doing money and be efficient, it's really important to understand that and optimize your infrastructure to be viable. It's really important.
And maybe to give an example of non-pure tech support that we are getting. So we are launching at the end of the month normally with OVH. So they have a product called AI Deploy, which allow a customer from OVH to deploy models, AI models. And now they will add in the list of models some of the partners. So Voxist is going to be one of the partners for speech to text. And we will probably not have had this opportunity if we didn't discuss with the startup team. So it's also bringing a lot of benefits in this case, business.
It's not only infrastructure; it's also ecosystem, and client can be clients together and find client in the portfolio of the cloud provider, and it also to understand what types of clients you need and they have.
Yes, so it's business driven, it's also infrastructure related with different layers of services. I think, Alex, it's not only infrastructures, and we talked about DevOps, Kubernetes, and everything related to the site reliability engineering, so the production part, but there is also a link with the application layer and the developers themselves when they are designing, because if you want to leverage the best cloud option, you need also to consider how you design your solution and not only the infrastructure. Can you share your experience?
Yes, that's a very huge point from a development team point of view, in that you have to really think your application to run on the cloud. The same way you think your application that should run on a phone, for example, or smartphone. You said, okay, I have a particular device. I will try to use the best as I can every single piece of resources that this device gives me. You have to have the exact same way of thinking when you are trying to develop a cloud application. So meaning, if you think that you will have some very intense scalability needs, and you don't have a lot of resources or understanding of the underlying things running in the cloud, you probably would be happy to have something like a serverless approach, meaning that you delegate a lot of things to the cloud providers and you focus mainly on your app. But at some point you might want to get back some part of the responsibility of running things and of making things, and so you will probably going to something like Kubernetes, where you will have a lot of more things to do by yourself and more responsibility. But every fan of the Avengers knows that when you have great power, you have a great responsibility too. So the inverse is totally true. When you have a great responsibility, you also get great power. So meaning if you want more ability to do low level stuff, you probably go with some VMs and so on. So it's completely your choice to select the right stack for your business and for your team, and then to build the right way for this particular approach. Don't expect to move easily an application made for a VM at the beginning and move it pretty quickly to a serverless approach. Okay, you will have it's a great way to fail miserably. So think about it before starting something, and do it really the way the cloud provider thought about it, and don't try to push your own way and to do your own stuff as you want with a stock that you didn't make from the yourself. You know? Does it make sense for you?
Yeah,
yes,
definitely. Yeah, thank you. So when there is some, because you mentioned that in your previous experience, where you faced you face the wall, and at sometimes there is some critical situation where you are not able to provide your service, and so it's quite critical. You have role and responsibilities around that. What's the relationship also with the with the cloud provider that in those period? Did you face that? And
well, I think the responsibility lie on us. I mean, the cloud provider can't be responsible for a downtime because we have to build things knowing that might have a downtime. So we've seen things in the past where a lot of people were unhappy with the cloud providers, but sorry guys, it's all on you. So we try to be multi-cloud also a little for that, but honestly in my case it's mostly dedicated workload rather than disaster recovery type of approach. But what we try to do is more actually at the software level. Instead of we build stacks that we own and that we have full control, but we will have a plan B, let's say, where we can divert that to a third-party provider. And we know the cost is not going to be the same, the quality maybe not the same, but at least that's my approach. Is we have to have continuous of service from the client point of view, and then we will still work with our cloud providers because they help you when there is a crisis, and they usually are reactive because they know that even if it's not their fault, it might impact their image. So you will work with them a lot, and they can help because indeed they know often better the infrastructure level, but you own the software level, and that's usually our responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. There's a lot that can be said about the relationship between cloud providers and customers. I think no matter what, the person who loses out the most tends to be the customer, so the software application builder. And so I tend to think that the best habits I can see come from software teams and customers that are really proactive about communication, about things like resource allocation and saying like, hey, we're already a pretty heavy consumer of block storage in this like far distant data center that you have. We were just wondering like, if tomorrow we needed 20 petabytes, like can you manage that? It would be really helpful. Like we're not saying we need it right now, but it'd be good. And our best customers reach out to us and go, okay, that's great. Like we can plan around that. And so there's one element which is like hitting resource constraints because the cloud is infinite until it isn't. And that's the reality. And anyone trying to buy NVIDIA products knows that to be true this year. But the other side of that, of course, is the obligation on the part of the cloud provider to provide the service that they said that they would provide. And so that obviously goes both ways. And what's interesting is it's in both parties' interests. And so the stronger relationship you build with a cloud provider, the more you're going to get them reaching out and going, hey, like over the last year, you guys have had pretty steady growth. We've noticed a few spikes in the past few quarters. you know, are those spikes regular? Do you expect to have them in the future? Because we're not saying it's a problem today, but we just like to be able to, the more we can plan, the easier it is. We had someone who ate our entire stock of something recently in about 3 hours, which was impressive. And so now we have a better relationship with them because they got scared and we got scared, and that's like a monthly occurrence at a cloud provider. Is one of your customers scales to infinity, either on purpose or by accident. Both of those things happen, and then you get to know them a little better as a result if you didn't do it before. And so no matter, I mean, the hardware constraints is the obvious one that cloud providers feel because that's where we're limited. Software, we tend to be okay. But hardware, we know, like, if you eat all of our VMs, you know, because you just spun up, you know, you messed up your auto scaling on Kubernetes and suddenly made a request for 8 million virtual machines in a, you know, in a particularly packed AZ. Okay, we're gonna run into issues. But yeah, I think like I think it's as true to say that application engineering teams need to understand the infrastructure that they're building on top of, as it is to say that like customers need to understand with their cloud providers, potentially plural, yeah, what the fundamentals of their business are. Some businesses are very flat. Like we have like unicorn startups running on Scaleway, super predictable infrastructure, not actually particularly workload intensive. As the company gets bigger, then they get more customer data as a result, and so okay, things go up, but it's pretty predictable. And then you have like, yeah, outlier customers whose business is basically like, I'm a cloud or a Dropbox alternative. Okay, storage through the roof immediately as soon as they launch, and things like that, where you really want to build a strong relationship if you know that you're going to end up being an extreme edge case on certain things.
Exactly. So we discussed this continuous activity and ability to scale. Anything related to security and trust when there is some, I think we didn't mention any security or attack that could reach a company and the solution, and how you are managing that.
Well, and you always have to have in mind that you are sharing responsibility on running your stuff, meaning that part of the responsibility is yours, but other part is your cloud providers. And depending on the services you choose, the responsibility is not the same. So if you are focusing on VMs, you have more responsibilities than running serverless. So we already told that. Yeah. But it's not only that, it's also what's behind each services. You all have in mind some spotlight news in the past months where some data centers went on fire and some other went under the water. So nobody can ensure that everything will run forever. And so as a software developer or business owner, you share the same objective to have your customer served the right way and your business grow as you expect. So you have to be ready for that. And for the securities, exactly the same thing. You probably share some of the responsibility concerning the security with your cloud provider. For example, some of them are doing a great job to absorb some DOS attacks for you, so you don't have to deal with it. But they will not protect the software that are running on their VMs. So it means at some point, you have to be very close to your cloud provider to understand what they provide and what you have to do. And if everybody is doing its stuff correctly, your business will run pretty smoothly.
Thank you very much.
And this is where, startup programs come in handy, because normally in order to have that kind of conversation with a cloud provider, you need to spend a lot of money. That's
Exactly.
and
So
the advantage, again,
Exactly.
coming back to what Fanny was saying, that like the advantage is getting better access to technical and business advisors inside the cloud provider, because it's very complicated. You might not know you're exposing a public IP to your product to the entire internet. That's unfortunate.
Yes, you
Exactly.
really should be part of some kind of cloud
Absolutely.
solution provider program for startups. It's really a must-have thing, not only for the credits, but also for all the advices you get, and for the specific relation you build with the cloud provider. Knowing the stack and knowing the people is a huge advantage over the other people.
I think it's a people business. It's not only related to Kubernetes, but really building this trusted relationship with cloud provider, point of contact. So thank you very much for sharing your experience, advices, and supporting entrepreneurs to scale in the good and bad moments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Arnaud.
Arnaud.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.